Hello, today what we're going to be working on is how to analyze large sets of data um, in a separate sheet other than your source sheet. You will want to do this because putting formulas into a main sheet can make it more clunky as well as harder to navigate. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. As you see here, I have a rather large set of data. This is old data at this point that does require updating, but you can see that I've created columns representing different data sets. Basically, these are the service providers and the targeted schools, okay? If I were to create a new row to have some of these calculations inside of Smartsheet, it could make my data collection a little bit more messy. And I really don't want to do that because this actually feeds a dynamic view where the service providers actually edit this data through their personalized view. So that would make it not so nice on their end. Another way you can do this is you can also do it using the summary on the right hand of your screen. If you were to submit it as a summary, you can see here from this amount of data that I'm analyzing from all the different providers, it would create quite an unreasonable amount of scrolling to do. Alternatively, what we're going to do today, as I mentioned, is we're going to create a sheet that will do this analyzing for us. So first, you're going to create columns that designate those parameters. In this case, what I want to calculate first is how many schools does that provider service? Then, what is the format that the service is provided in? And lastly, who is the target audience for those services? In order to grab this information from another sheet, I will be using the reference another sheet form on Smartsheets. How do I do that? So you can see here, I have my provider submitted. I'm going to go ahead and click on my first cell. I'm going to type in equals count if. Let me zoom in here. Equals count if, okay? You must have the equals. You want to use count if in this case because it's only counting based on one parameter. If you want to have multiple conditions, you're going to use count ifs. But again, I'm only using one condition, so I'm going to use count if. It'll pop up this next little box here, and you're going to hit reference another sheet. So I'm going to click reference another sheet. In this case, I've been working in the sheet quite a bit already, so I'm going to go ahead and select my columns that I'm going to work within. In this case, I'm going to select the next service provider and the column that designates which of these schools that provider provides services to. Before you move on, you're going to want to rename this reference because you're going to be referencing so many columns. You're going to want to name them for sanity's sake. So let me see, UCB services. Keep it as clear as possible for yourself just for ease of reference. So I've got my new title. I'm double checking that the correct column is selected. This is the range of information I'm asking it to search within. And I'm going to hit insert reference. Now, when I take a look at it, you'll see here that my formula is incorrect because I haven't finished it. So here we go. We have count if my range, comma, is 1. 1 meaning it is just checked, right? This was a checkbox option, so 0 would be a not checked, 1 is checked or true. And now it'll pull in that count for me, okay? There are some benefits to you doing it this way, or some shortcuts to doing it this way. I always say work smarter, not harder. So this next cell, I'm going to do the same thing. Equals count if, select to open the dialog box, reference another sheet. It pulls in my sheet for me. I'm going to collect services format. That's the column I'm pulling. Then I'm going to title this. So here we go. I have it titled now. I'm going to go ahead, insert reference. I'm going to take a look and complete my formula. So I'm telling it if that range designates that the format is, in this case, hybrid. Notice you have to put your quotation marks to count it. Now, I want to count that same exact range. I want to use that same exact range to count whether it's virtual or in person as well. So what I can do is I can select that cell. I can drag that formula over. Then I can simply edit the condition rather than if it's hybrid. I want it to count it if it is virtual. Same thing here. This time, I want to count it if it is in person. You have to make sure that whatever you're putting in your quotation marks is the same spaces, punctuation, whatever it might be, as what you have on your sheet. This works best when you're using drop downs. Now I can do the same thing for this next set. This next set notates whether it's cohort, non-cohort, or both. So to do that one more time, well, it equals count if, reference another sheet, too close for this. Let me zoom out a little bit so that I can actually see what I'm doing. Count if, we're going to name our range. We're going to insert reference. And now we have to finish our formula. Count if, oh, it's in my way. So I'm going to click out and I'm going to click back in. If is cohort. Because I'm referencing that same range in the next two columns, I'll pull my formula over. I'll adjust the criteria. And one more time, adjust the criteria. Now I have some data across multiple providers, and I want to create a visualization, something like this comparing them. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So now on your dashboard, you can hit add a widget. We're going to create a chart. You're going to add data. Let me make sure I saved this data. We're going to add data. We're going to select the data that you want it to reference. We're going to hit OK. And here it is. It pops in a chart for me comparing my various schools or my various programs and how many schools they provide services to. You can play with the data, how it shows up, the legend. I'm going to be creating some more comparisons like this, as well as utilizing reports in order to do a little bit more of a complex graphic, because that will be able to allow me to do a bit more manipulation. One thing that creating a graph from a sheet requires is that you need to make sure that it follows a specific format versus in a row report, it's not quite as restrictive. And we can take a look at that on another day. I hope this helped. If so, please do give me a like and a follow. I would really appreciate that. And I will continue to be making some more of these videos to hopefully support others exploring the Smartsheet capabilities.